If you look at Sydney Observatory, you'll see it has a tall tower, and on top of the tower is a large yellow ball. And that's the time ball. At about 6 minutes to 1, the time ball begins to rise up its mast. It takes about 2 minutes to reach the top. And it'll sit at the top of the mast for 2 to 3 minutes. And at precisely 1 o'clock, as measured in the past by the observatory's clocks, and as we measure it by our watches and clocks today, the time ball is released and it drops. So the moment it starts to drop is a signal for 1 o'clock. It was most important for ships sailing around the world in the 19th century and the early 20th century. Those ships had on board them chronometers. And the chronometers were essential in working out the longitude for those ships. A ship needs to know its position on the Earth. It can measure its latitude very easily by using a sextant. But to measure longitude was very difficult until accurate clocks, which weren't affected by the rolling of the ship and could keep time for long periods, came into place. Those clocks, however, do have a rate. They might run a little bit faster or a little bit slower than true time. And when you're in port, the ship's navigator, and maybe the captain or the officers, could watch the observatory's time ball over several days and compare the observatory's time, which was precisely measured from the rotation of the Earth and the position of the sun. They could compare the observatory's time to the time their chronometer gave and see if their chronometer was running a little fast or a little slow. So then when they left port, they would have a number saying their chronometer was running 1 second slow per day. So for the rest of their journey, they could make a correction for their chronometer and know very precisely their longitude so that they could navigate safely around the world. So the observatory's time ball is primarily and initially, from 1858, here to allow ships to know the time so they could navigate correctly. But of course it also allowed people in the city to see the time. Clocks around the city were set from the observatory's time ball and later on from electronic signals sent out from our clocks. And I even met someone who used to work on the docks in Darling Harbour, and they said that when they saw the time ball drop, that was their signal to go back to work. And that was in the 50s and 60s, long after the time ball was the primary time signal. It was just used more for historic purposes by those stages.